My name is Monica Main, and I wanted to do a demonstration on how to use my 2011 cash flow evaluator, which is a very good tool to use when evaluating the cash flow of any commercial or residential commercial apartment building type of deal. And basically, what this is for is to see if you can actually find a property with a good cash flow. Right now, I'm on Loopnet.com, which is the main MLS service when you're trying to find lucrative commercial real estate. And so this is the mainstream website to be able to look at different property deals. And I basically quickly found a property deal that would work just for the demonstration purposes of my new 2011 cash flow evaluator, which is a cash flow tool that is available if you purchase my Apartment Riches or apartment building cash flow system that's located at apartmentriches.com. Again, that's apartmentriches.com. You have to get the physical course to be able to gain access to the 2011 cash flow evaluator. Okay, so I found this particular property deal here, and I already pre-plugged in a lot of this stuff so that I can quickly go through this demonstration. But basically, it's a residential commercial property, so we're clicking on this, and it's a mid-rise. Actually, it isn't a mid-rise, it's a low-rise because it's less than 7. Okay, and the occupancy level, as they state here, is 90%. So we go through this and quickly go ahead and do an analysis of the property deal. Okay, and so basically you could fill all of this in later. We don't really need all of this stuff to do a quick and dirty analysis, but you can click all of this stuff if you wanted to at some point in time, to determine what you're going to be doing. This property looks like a C class. Most of them are going to be C, and I actually put the purchase price in. If you want to do 0 cash down, we have to change this. We're going to go ahead and change this to 0 down. And then we need to go ahead and change this section here because we have pretend we have an 85% LTV, which my main broker, who's also in my main course materials, he can actually do an 85% LTV for the majority of the country, not everywhere in the country, but for the majority of the states in the country, he can actually get an 85% LTV. Okay, so we have that, and then we might actually want to put that we are going to have a certain portion of it funded by a private mortgage contract on the back end. So that would actually be the 20%, actually 15% of this property deal. So say, for example, we are going to have $250,000 of this particular deal funded on the back end by this seller. And so we fill all of this in. This is the gross operating income, which is what you find here. And now when you're looking at this particular property or any property, you need the gross income, you need the operating expenses, and they have to have actual. This is a pro forma, which is not my preferred method. So basically you would go to this particular gentleman here and you would type in, please send actual income expense information. Thank you. And that's it. And then you basically click contact listing broker because you're looking for actual, you're not looking for pro forma. And so basically, because we have this to work with, we can do a quick and dirty analysis of what we got here. And we have scheduled gross income and we have effective gross income. Scheduled is what they expected. Effective is what they actually got. We only care about what they got. We don't care about what they expected. Okay, so it's usually the lower number here, and I have 485,350, which I already plugged into the yellow box. You want to focus in on the yellow boxes. So here's your purchase price. Here's your gross operating income. And then you're going to plug in your operating expenses, which is located right here, and you're going to plug that into this other yellow box here. Eventually, when you get actual income and expenses, you'll have an itemization of everything. You can plug all this in later. And you just want to do a quick and dirty analysis to see, okay? We have, looks like a pretty good cash flow here on this particular property. But again, I wanted to go look through it just one more time. We have DCR, which is the debt coverage ratio. It's a number that the bank needs to look at, and it needs to usually exceed 1.25. Some banks require it to exceed 1.45. Looks like we're way over the 1.45 mark. The cap rate looks like it's 11%, and these are based on the numbers that they had given us. Now, we also have replacement reserves, and all appraisers and banks have to put in a replacement reserves just like they have to have a vacancy and credit loss of 5%. So you want to leave this as a default of 5%. You also want to leave the replacement reserves as a 2.5%. Replacement reserves are reserves to use for the future repairs of the property. As you can see, it's $11,000, and that's actually annually. All stuff that's calculated for commercial real estate is done by way of annual numbers. And so we now have annual replacement reserves. So you don't want to change that. This is not an amount that's socked away into a bank account unless you're very, very I guess you could say, responsible owner that's actually going to sock this away, in which case you should probably sock away 5 to 7% of your gross operating income and not just 2.5%. But the bank needs to know whether or not you actually have enough money to not only cover your debt service, which is your mortgage, and all of your expenses and your taxes, and the possibility of having to come up with replacement reserves or replacement funds to be able to make property repairs. So they want to make sure that you have the money, and that's why their appraisers will put this figure in there, and it's usually 2.5%, okay? So that's why you want to leave that in there. So this is not an amount that you get from the former owner. This is not an amount that you get from anybody. This is not an amount that goes into a savings account automatically unless you're a responsible owner who puts it in there for a rainy day. But this has to be put in here just so that the bank can see that you have enough money to cover everything, plus possible replacement reserves or possible repairs in the future, which you always have when you have an apartment building or other commercial property, okay? So we have all of this stuff in here. Now we have the different tabs here. We have the asking price finder. I like to go $25,000 in cash flow. That's bottom line cash flow after all your expenses and debt service per $1 million in asking price. And so this is what this is based on. You can change it and go lower, but I don't recommend that. So here's your asking price, and then this is the asking price that's supported by the cash flow, which is very unusual. So I could probably see that why they're giving you pro forma numbers on this property deal, because it's probably not anywhere near this in reality, okay? So we have a speedy price finder, which gives you the breakdown, including your cap rate. And then we also have what's called now the net operating income. Now this is the trick here, because a lot of times when you're dealing with these properties that are listed on Loopnet, you're only going to have this one single number and nothing else. And so now this new cash flow evaluator allows you to plug in the single number, having no other information, except for, of course, your asking price. And so you can plug this in 170, I think it was, let's see, 170,045. So let's go ahead and plug this in. 170,045. And then you can actually see what your cash flow would be with this quick and dirty number. Your net operating income is actually the income. So it's basically the owner telling you, hey, this is the bottom line income before your debt service. Okay, so that's what the net operating income is. So it actually allows you to do a quick and dirty analysis against what your potential financing would be, to see if you could use this number if you didn't have any other number to work with on the particular listing on Loopnet. And then this new tab here, it's under rehab analysis. So say, for example, you want to rehab the building and you think it's going to cost $340,000 and you want 100% to be financed through a second position hard money loan after acquisition, in which case it'll tell you what your rehab loan will be. Most of them are interest-only loans, so that's why I only put an interest-only in here. And it's going to be a bottom line 14% interest-only interest rate, which is going to give you this monthly payment added onto your regular debt service. It's going to majorly change your net operating income. So, for example, if you had to put in a lot more in anticipated rehab, this is what your cash flow would be. So it actually, a lot of people don't know how to figure out what their post-acquisition rehab is going to be, and if they're going to be able to clear a cash flow after that. So this is what this tab is for, to actually show you if you actually can get a cash flow on this property deal or not, if you add a second position hard money loan onto your current debt service or your conventional mortgage after the close of escrow and still be able to make a cash flow. And then, of course, I have the down payment assistance, whereas if you want to borrow the owner's equity out of it, and so say, for example, you're getting an 85% first position conventional loan, and you want to take out or borrow the owner's equity in a form of a buyer's repair credit. I have another video on that, by the way. Instead of me having to go into detail on this video, I'm just going to briefly tell you that we have the tab here, and then it shows you the bottom line number that you have to ask in your offer for as a buyer's repair credit. And again, the property owner has to have this in equity because it's coming out of their equity. So instead of them receiving a check at the close of escrow for the proceeds of their property sale, instead they're going to be giving it back to you in the form of a buyer's repair credit to be able to cover your transactional funding costs, or the funding company that comes in with cash for your 15% down payment or whatever it may be, to be able to clear your down payment so that you can show the lender that you're coming in with skin in the game or cash into the transaction, okay? So I have another video, in fact, I have another couple of videos on that topic, so you can go ahead and look at those videos if you're confused about how to use DPA. But this is the DPA tab as well. And then there's a property notes section where you could do some notes in here, and you could do an initial investment or additional investment analysis that will break down exactly what your return on equity is. You know, all of the numbers here as far as your cumulative net profit. You have all of this stuff as far as pro forma stuff, so that if you, for example, had your itemization of all of your stuff, and you would actually be able to do a pro forma to whereas you say, okay, on average, you know, the costs, the expenses are going to increase by 5% a year, and it'll break down what your cash flow is, okay? The other benefit that I like on this particular is that it actually gives you depreciation. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with how depreciation works, but it's actually a tax write-off to depreciate your property. For residential commercial, it's 27.5 years. For commercial property, it's 39 years. So it'll actually give you part of your cash flow back because it's fewer taxes that you have to pay at the end of the year. So it actually does your breakdown of your depreciation to show you, you know, what the changes are on your depreciation. So I like that benefit as well on this cash flow evaluator. But this is a lot of numbers to look at. So you want to make sure that, you know, here's your depreciation value here, the property value depreciation and the land value depreciation. And again, here 27.5 for residential commercial and 39. And it shows you your first year depreciation value and your taxes, which gives you a boost in your cash flow because that's fewer taxes you have to pay to Uncle Sam. So that's basically how that works. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial of the cash flow evaluator. If you have any additional questions about it, go ahead and shoot me an email to monica@monicamain.com. Again, that's monica@monicamain.com. Or you can go to my main website and click on the link to send me an email to monicamain.com. Again, that's monicamain.com. And on the resource side, you can actually see a link that says email me directly. And check out my other videos that I have there too. I have other free videos for you to take a look at, especially when it comes to DPA and structuring your LOI offer form. You can click on the video link under resources as well. This is Monica Main signing off, and I'll see you at the top.